Okay, so let me set up what I'm going to be working on today, or what I'm going to be using as my illustration for the arcade labeling. Like many of you, I have been asked by ISU's emergency management folks, as well as some regional emergency management folks, to help out with the coronavirus or COVID-19 tracking. And what we can do, of course, as GISers is make maps to help visualize and communicate the problem that our decision makers are facing and help them arrive at well-informed decisions. So one of the things that I was asked for, is simply a map of the number of cases by county in the state of Idaho. Now, there's lots of sites that do this, but we wanted, here at ISU, folks wanted it integrated with some other additional data. So they wanted that layer brought in. And I said, okay, we can do this for you. So what we're seeing here is just the state of Idaho. And what I did is I brought in the number of cases. Now, this is some little bit older data. We have not been maintaining this because folks, for the most part, are using some other sites to get this information. But this little example comes from the 27th of April, 2020. So it's a little bit dated, and that's just fine for our purposes today. And what we're seeing here is we see the number, of course, we have the name of the county and the health district that it belongs to. And we see the total number of cases, the total number of deaths per county, the number of probable cases, and then a rate, as well as a total. And then I also put in, as when I was working on this actively, I would always make sure that the date last updated was also made available. So I would like to create some labels to provide some very, very quick at-a-glance information for our decision makers. But my data that I want to use in the labels is in quite a number of different fields. So of course, as you know, what we're going to do when we want to label is we first have to turn on the capability of labeling. So we're going to enable labels. And what ArcGIS Pro does is it grabs a field that, if it finds a field called name, it will grab that. If it finds a field called, there's a little sequence order, and it will just use something for that. Well, this is certainly not what we want, and what it seems to have grabbed onto is the first text field that it found, which happens to be the region field. Certainly not very applicable for what we're doing today. So I want to change that. Of course, to do that, I'm going to modify the labeling properties. So I'm going to come over here. This label class pane pops up, in my case on the right side. That's the default location. And the expression that we're seeing here is counties region, exactly as we had already figured out. Well, maybe what I want to put in here is not the region. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this, select it, and I just pressed delete. Maybe we do want the county name to go in here, so that's good. And maybe we also want to have, I would like to have health district. No, I want to have the number of cases. Yeah, that'd be good. Let's see. The number of deaths, that would be good. Number of probables, the rate, that'd be great too. And total. Yeah, that's cool. How is this? It doesn't like it. Okay. Well, we got to concatenate these things together. We have to communicate through arcade. That's what we're using, the language. And I can do that simply by saying plus in between each of these. So it's the county field plus the cases field plus the number of deaths field plus the number of probable cases plus, let's see here, plus the number of the rate, and then finally plus feature total. Now it's happy. let's go ahead and apply that. I'm going to close up this. Now that is kind of ugly, right? Right? I mean, because we have in some cases just, oh, it just doesn't look good. So we need to work on this. One of the things I'd like to do is I would like to put in some line breaks, okay, some line breaks. So I don't want everything labeled as one long string of a label here. So how in the world can I do that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of arcade scripting or language code here, and I'm going to tell it to put in some line breaks for me. So I'm going to go right over here. Notice where I am right now. Feature county counties. Okay, fine, that field. And I'm gonna, what I did, I just copied and pasted because I'm a terrible typist. What I'm gonna do here, and the code here is this thing. This is the little command. It says text formatting, new line, and then we go back to a plus, and so on and so forth. Now I've got that thing copied, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in a number of places. New line there, there's a plus, here we go again. Copy and paste that there, new line there. And let's see, that should look good. Let's grab one more here. And I think we're gonna need one more right there. I think I got them all. Let's double check it, make sure it's okay. It's happy with it. And now let's apply it. See how this turns out. Oh, that's not too bad. Now notice there's some breaks between this. That's because some of these counties, at least on April 20th, had null data, nothing, for, let's see, it might be the number of deaths was null, the number of probable cases was null, so on and so forth. So we've got some blanks right over here, okay? That's not a problem. That's just how the data is set up. But by looking at this, I really don't know what this stuff is, right? It certainly is not going to give the decision maker good information at a glance. They might immediately realize, okay, Custer, that's the name of the county. But what's a 2? What's a 46 point this and this and this? So let's help them out a little bit more. Let's go ahead and give them some text that we're going to make available. Right? We're going to put it in all by ourselves. Let's see. Okay, here I go. And this is my county. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put in. Okay. And that's red. It looks like it's not happy with it, but it's going to format it in red, meaning this is just something that you typed in. Probably not the greatest thing in the world. Maybe blue would be better, but so be it, right? If I click apply, notice, whoops, I didn't put that in the right order, that now cases appears here, but my line break was in the wrong location. So let's fix that up. Okay, so there's my line break, number of cases, plus the actual value for the number of cases. Refresh that again, we're getting good at this. Here we go, okay, that's all right. So this is Custer, cases is 2. I still don't really like that, do I? Let's go ahead and fix that up. Put in a space right between that. And so on and so forth. That's looking a whole lot better. Now, one of the other things that I don't like about this is the fact that the rate shown right here, 46.72, blah, 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 for Custer County, I don't want to bother showing all of these decimal places. So we're going to have to do a little bit of formatting to get that to work just right. So I'm going to grab my entire code that I really like right over here. And I'm going to replace this entirely. And notice what I've done here. This is the formatting feature. So we have the word rate that's going to appear before our field called rate. And I'm going to use a rounding function and tell ArcGIS Pro and through Arcade to only show me one decimal place. Let's see if that's done exactly as I liked it to. There we go. 46.7. If I wanted to show 2 decimal places, I would simply change that number to a 2, apply it, and you don't really have to click the verify each and every time. I'm just doing it so you can see that everything's working out just fine. Yes, this is red when you have hard-coded text that you're putting in. The green text is used. This is kind of Esri's object structure behind the scenes. And then in black, this is referring to actual fields in your geodatabase. Now, I've absolutely completed this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off what I was working on, look at my completed version, because I also applied some symbology changes to it. There we go. And I made the labels, give them a little halo around it. Now notice this is how it looks. Custer County, cases of 2, very similar to what we did a little bit ago. And notice that it is broken on separate lines and so on. Now here's one of the pitfalls with Arcade. And that is, let's see how well this translates as we share this map with ArcGIS Online. So let me go now to ArcGIS Online, and notice this is the same map that we were using, we're looking at right now. It's now a web map, but we've got a problem, right? It's all back to one line. It did honor my truncation, but it did not keep the separate lines. This, by the way, is Esri's default map viewer. Let's take a look at one other thing right here, though. This is the web map called Cases by County. And I'm going to tell it to open in the map viewer beta. Now let's zoom up to this thing. Now looky there. Isn't that interesting? Really honored all of my settings with the map viewer beta, the different map viewer available in ArcGIS Online. So if you're seeing those problems that some of your more advanced settings in ArcGIS Pro are not carrying across, I'm going to encourage you to try that same exact web map in the new beta web viewer. And I suspect that in a not too distant future, this is going to become the default web map viewer. Okay, I'm going to now jump real quick back to ArcGIS Pro, and I'm going to show you another Arcade example, this time looking at health districts. Exactly the same, well, not exactly, but very similar geodatabase, very similar table. I have health district, number of hospitals, okay? So this is, again, related to coronavirus. And what I have done here is I have done a little bit of spatial analysis. I've kind of put things together based on location, right? So I mapped all of the locations of all the hospitals that were available, at least to me. I think I've got them all. And I calculated the number of hospitals in each health district polygon. So a number of points inside each polygon. One of the attributes of the hospital's data was the total number of beds available in that hospital. So I summed all of these, and this is showing me that Health District 1 has a total of 8 hospitals, mapped hospitals, and those 8 hospitals have 485 beds, and all the way through Health District 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, okay? Then what I've done is I've taken the number of coronavirus cases, okay, and I've totaled those things right over here. Total number of cases, okay, which included the probables, by the way. That's why we're seeing a difference between cases and the total number, because it's including the probables. And the concern was, what if every one of these people has to go to a hospital? What if it becomes so bad that all these people have to go to a hospital? Do we have the capability to deal with that? Okay, so at a glance again, for decision makers, we want to show this data, right? So what I might want to do is, number one, turn on labeling, yes. Go to my labeling properties. Okay, so I'm now going to label my health districts. That's what I'm working on right here. And of course, what I might want to do, as you've already learned, I might want to take the maybe the health district number. So health district plus, what else might we like? Total number of hospital beds plus the total number of cases, okay? And we know we could go ahead and label this, but again, it's not happy with that. Why? Because we have to do some line breaks and all this good stuff like this. Okay, so let me show you the finished arcade code, and we'll walk through what this thing is doing. Now what I did here, now this is a little bit different again. I'm showing, and I'll zoom up to this, that we have the Eastern, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, symbol, so we can see this. Yeah, 8 is too small. Let's go 18. Okay, this is the Eastern Health District. There are 432 hospital beds and a total cases of 36 cases, okay? Not a problem. The total number of available hospital beds far exceeds the total number of cases, so people are not concerned. South Central, however, is shown in red. There are 371 hospital beds, but 687 cases. That could be a problem if indeed all of those people had to go to the hospital, or even if 50% of those people had to go to the hospital, that could be a major problem. Now, how in the world did I do that, right? Because we have these shown in blue in one size font, and these shown in red in another size font. So let me go back to my class, and what we have done is we've actually set up a little bit of logic in our labeling, and it's an if statement. If, and I'm going to skip over some of these things and try to make it make sense to you, if the county table data for cases, okay, is greater than, right there, greater than the sum of the beds, it's just looking at two different fields here, then we want the color to be 255 red, so bright red, okay? And the font size to be 10. Well, we said we liked 18 a little bit ago, so maybe we're gonna make this one even larger. Let's go to 24. Make sure it's still happy, I didn't mess up something. Apply that, there we go. Okay, else, so if the total number of cases does not exceed the total number of beds, then draw it in this default blue color. Where does it get default blue? Well, it's just what I set. up here for the symbol a little bit ago, okay? And that's simply what it's going to do. The expression is going to look exactly the same. Total number of cases, total number of beds, and so on and so forth. Now let's take a look at how well this translates across to ArcGIS Online. Let's open it up in the default viewer, the current default viewer. And as you might suspect, it didn't do a very nice job. Okay. It put it all onto one line again. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this thing appears in the new map viewer. Go back here to content. And zoom to the full extent of this layer. Now that looks very, very similar. But notice that the red color wasn't carried across. And so what I have done, when I noticed that, I said, oh, geez, I got to have some way to bring attention to these special cases where the number of cases of coronavirus exceeds the total number of hospital beds in the health district. So one of the things that I did is I put some asterisks around it. What I could do is could try to maybe make the font a little bit larger, those sort of things. This right now doesn't carry across perfectly well. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, no way around it at this point. I hope in the future that it will be fixed as we see ArcGIS Online become much, much more similar to exactly what we're seeing in ArcGIS Pro. I wanted to bring that to your attention just so you're aware of this thing, but at the same time, I think the more important part of what we're talking about today is using Arcade to really make some very, very informative and useful labels for our maps. So with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to unmute yourself, maybe go to the chat line if you want to, and I'll be happy to answer your questions with a few minutes that we have left